exception. I transform like this, perform like this. Wish out you a new weapon. I don't contemplate, I meditate. Then off your fucking head.
We picked her right, and we picked the right artist to have as our opening.
Absolutely,
notice that, right?
We sure did.
You know
we sure did. This is aging
like
really well, ain't
He's
it?
not like us. He's not like us.
Right. I love the way this is aging.
It did. We man, Kendrick, man, that was a lot of music.
It was a lot of music.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
and
man.
I like that joint. That joint snappy. Right. Every time I hear it, I get amped.
Yes. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, man. We are here. We're back, man. Let's go ahead and open this up. My name is Malcolm Yates.
My name is Andrew Nelson.
And, man, we are The Narrative, man. We appreciate you guys coming in to join us. Come like, subscribe, man. We need you to share this joint. Listen, if you jumping in and you see it, just give us a like. That's all we need.
Right, that's
you know
all.
what I'm saying?
A like, and if you don't mind, to share.
That's right, man, because it helps out that algorithm.
It sure do. And the more shares we get, the wider the reach.
That's right. The wider the
more
reach.
likelihood it is that somebody could see the way to change the narrative.
Exactly. And we'll be able to provide the information and the education
absolutely
to the community that need it, or to the nation. Hey, I like that.
That bars.
So what's good, man? What we talking about today?
Man, it's so much to talk about, man.
It's been a crazy week.
It has been, man. So I guess to me it make the most sense to start out since you I know we're gonna switch it up slightly.
Yeah,
right,
it's all good.
Since you already mentioned Kendrick, man, we already on it. We might as well,
bro. Might as well
hit that a little bit.
You're not like and I was just going back and listening to all his tracks. Yo, he was laying some work in.
He really was, man.
And he was like, the industry don't like you. I heard a track like I heard a YouTube, and they was just saying he's being used by the industry as their sounding board.
Yeah.
Because think about it. How many people came out dissing Drake?
Right.
Everybody did, right?
Right.
So if everybody out there dissing his brother, he said we're speaking for the culture. The culture don't like you.
And then furthermore, you got to ask yourself, right, is he the problem? Because he's the only constant.
The most common denominator, right?
That's correct.
We said the same thing about Amanda Seals, right? If everyone is a problem,
right, then
we got to look at the most common problem.
Now, there's a naysayer argument in this.
Okay.
Right? Like, because there is like, just because everybody jumped on the bandwagon and started dogging them, what if they all just being opportunists? Right?
Yeah.
Now, that is possible.
That could be possible.
However, I mean, lyrics aside, because I'm not one personally. Mm-hmm. I'm a hip hop head. I enjoy the lyrics
without a shadow of a doubt.
So I'm not one where I'm gonna sit here and shoot at Drake and say like, "Oh, this brother's not talented," because the reality is Drake been putting in consistent work
over
since like
the last
08.
15 years.
Absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I met much respect to his contributions to hip hop, but now that I got that disclaimer out of the way, at the end of the day, the brother gotta be some sort of grimy, because again,
everybody saying it,
everybody,
and all your homies is not. You thought was your homies is no longer your homies.
They not your homies.
Everybody got something.
And then you
to
even
say.
got listen. Have you ever noticed that Ross, for the most part, is all about his money and showing love? If you got Ross out here making a diss track, come on. Come on, white boy. Ross don't want nothing but lemon pepper wings and Maybach music.
And you're right. And I was looking at that too. And like, you got the producer making just a producing track to be mad at you, bro. You got everybody coming out the window shooting these shots.
Right.
And I can see the counter argument of people saying like, you know what I mean? Like, because Drake on top, so everybody mad and everybody being a hater. And it could be everybody being mad that he's on top. But when you on top also, you can also rub people the wrong way a lot of the times.
That's correct.
And when you are the top dog, you can do whatever you want to do, which seems like he ruffles a lot of people's feathers.
Listen, Pac was on top when Pac was out, and Pac wasn't getting beef.
Yep.
Biggie was on top. Mm-hmm. Biggie wasn't getting beef.
No, not like that, right?
Hove was on top.
Yep.
Hove wasn't getting beef.
He got a little bit. He got little shots, but not like Drake
just
shots.
From Nas, and to be clear, I feel like Hove started that beef.
But the reason why Hove got shots is because hip hop is competitive.
That's correct.
And if you got the top spot, I'm coming at you.
Right.
And it don't matter if we was homies or not. I need that.
Right. But Hov was so smooth with it, like, I'm about $1. What the fuck is 50 cents?
Yeah. So people was, 50 took his shots. Mobb Deep took their shots.
They did.
It was a few.
But it wasn't all out rap beefs. That's all I'm saying. Like, you got the whole industry lining up to make diss tracks against you. That's never happened.
Because the bull rubs people wrong. Like,
he does.
I did one time, I had the opportunity to do some security. As you know, I talked to you, I did executive security for a while.
Yeah.
And he came up and did Made in America. He was in Made in America. He wasn't actually the act, or maybe he did some guest performances. And he came in, and we had to walk him through and be with him. Well, he had them big bulls with him, but because we are on the grounds and we had to write, the arms, we were walking him through. And during that small interaction, that hour, me and the homies was like, "Yo, Bull's weird."
Yeah.
And I'm not even that type. So my whole first interaction with him as a person, I thought was a little off.
Yeah.
So now you're seeing everybody else saying all his other characteristics are starting to come through, and
definitely
you start hearing about money don't unlame a lame, and I'm like, oh, who are we talking about? And then Drake, Kendrick was kind of just stamping everything that we've been hearing.
Right.
That's just,
And you know who was one of the first people to talk about it? Well, we gonna Wayne for sure, but then I'm gonna make a segue, and then our brother Ye.
Yeah,
right?
You're right.
Ye told us early on that something wasn't right with Drake. We just didn't pay no attention because we was too wrapped up in the fact that we knew that something wasn't right with Ye.
You right
at the time.
You put up something.
But let's remember that Ye dropped that poop diddy scoop joint, right? And he dropped that literally just to make sure that Drake couldn't get that beat.
Yo, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
So he was saying that, he was like, and nobody understood it, but they was like, yo, Ye was saying something to the nature of Drake is strategic with his beef, right?
Wow.
And basically saying like, he blindsided him, and Ye was mad he wasn't here for it, right? And Ye got a problem with articulating himself. At this point, I understand it, which is a little weird because you're a lyricist.
Because you don't have a ghostwriter articulating his villains. See, here's the thing, though.
He did have 3 different people on his credit.
And I'm glad that this is really happening because now the young kids who always used to say, well, I don't care if you got ghostwriters or not. Now it's starting to make sense.
It's starting to make a lot of sense.
Like now the young boys is really seeing that, look, having ghostwriters write your diss records.
Right.
Ain't the same as you sitting there putting pen to the pad.
It sure ain't.
And you can call us old school all you want, but you got to put that pen to the pad. This is your joint.
Right.
And me and you conspiring to diss another brother.
Right. And I feel like it's okay to have other people write your music when you singing because the talent is in how you sound.
Songwriters is different.
It is.
Songwriters is
but I feel like hip hop is poetry.
Yes.
Right. And if I'm sitting up and I'm reciting somebody else's poems. What am I?
So you just a
reader.
You're a good regurgitator.
Yeah, you're a good reader.
You're a good actor.
But I mean, it's worth saying that Drake has been one of the best readers.
What they call him? Best actor.
The best actor.
Actor turned rapper.
That's
actor
correct.
Turned rapper, right?
That's correct.
So you can act the whole way, and the facade is starting to get seen, man.
Yeah.
Like, and no, like I said, I always thought the boy was talented. I was never one of his best fans. But I did dig some of his music.
Definitely, me too.
Right, and I can't
Lust
say
for Life still on the top.
Yeah,
for me,
I can't say I didn't dig some of his music. But we all saw he came in and kind of been like I want to say a culture vulture in a way.
I struggle with that, brother, because I'm a Pan-Africanist.
Yes.
So I struggle with that part. Right?
Yeah, but see, did he grow up in the culture?
No, he didn't. He did not grow up in the culture.
So he didn't grow up in the culture, but then he found a way to make money from the culture.
That's correct. He did.
And then
while still maintaining his origins of culture, because Drake still does identify as his original culture that he grew up as a Jewish male.
Jewish male, yeah. Right? And be fair, once you black, you're black. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so I do feel that way, right? Yeah. So I do feel, personally, my politics are that Drake is black.
Yeah, I absolutely say that he's black.
Right.
I do.
But I agree with you that he is benefiting off of a culture and appropriating a culture that he did not grow up in, that he was not raised in.
He didn't live in.
All he did was learn it and then act like it.
Yeah, and I also think you got to invest into the culture and you got to breathe into the culture. Like you got to have some blood, sweat, and equity in this culture.
And speaking of that, what a better transition to a brother that is not necessarily a brother, but culturally, I think he's a brother.
Who's that?
Gary Owens.
Wow.
And Gary was on the Club Shay Shay show.
Yeah.
And he kind of confirmed some stuff that I think that we all already felt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
for the first time got like a background.
We finally got his detailed account.
Yeah.
Do you remember that Chappelle Show episode when he was doing like the racial draft?
Yeah, definitely. I remember that.
So here we are.
Right.
The Negro delegations like to do. We would like to trade Drake
For Gary Owens. I'm with that.
Yeah, the
I'm
Negro
with that.
delegations has now drafted Gary Owens as officially an African
My
American.
name is Andrew Nelson, and I support that.
Absolutely. Welcome to the team, Gary Owens.
Welcome
you are
to the
now
team.
Drake. You've been traded. Sorry, brother.
Because honestly, I feel like Gary
you're not
Owens
us.
is
You're just
culturally
like us.
black.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And then, so he, listening to him on Club Shay Shay, he said a couple things that stood out to me that really let me understand. So Shay Shay, you know, first of all, I said this before, I got to say this again.
Okay.
Shay Shay is an excellent interviewer.
Oh, he is.
Like,
he is.
really, really asks
deeps into
the
it
questions
and give
that
you those
matter.
questions. To be like,
Absolutely.
damn.
Right?
It's not just fluff.
I definitely feel like most people who got talk shows should model themselves after him. Like, he is a model on that.
Because I feel like he uses like certain cues to hit certain emotions to trigger something else.
Absolutely.
To get that answer out. To you.
Absolutely.
And he take you down to a lane to get that.
And he holds you accountable.
Absolutely.
Because he be like, come on.
Man, he like, come on.
You, once that come, you know he about to call you on something that don't make sense.
That don't make no sense.
Right.
You trying to tell me?
Right.
You don't tell me.
So I like that. But he said they asked him, Shay Shay asked him basically like, what is it about black people? And he said, and this is how I knew it was real. He said, honestly, man, black people have always just been more welcoming and inviting to me.
But that's our nature.
That's our nature, brother.
Our nature has never been a hateful nature.
And he said, and I quote, I just kind of felt like I found my tribe, right? And then he started naming out all of the different places where he hang out with. He took it all the way back to high school,
And
right?
you know what's crazy? His dad is a trumper.
Right.
That's wow.
Right.
He grew up in a place of, I want to say like redneck Ohio.
Definitely,
right?
definitely. But he said also, so he tied it in, and then it makes sense because again, this is how I know he's being honest. Because most of our actions as adults, would you agree, tie into something that happened to us as a child?
I think everything.
Right?
I always say that we're adult 15-year-olds.
That's correct. So he said, growing up, the two white males in his life, his father and his stepfather, were the biggest disappointments to him. But he had a black coach, and he had black instructors, and then he had his black homies in high school, and then he had his black homies in the military. Right? So he said, in no unplain language, I've always adapted and felt more comfortable around black people.
No, you're right.
Good morning, Miss Coffee.
Yes,
good morning, Queen.
Good morning. Good
So
morning, Stace.
and then another thing he said that he had only been with one white girl in his life.
Wow. I think that's not a lot of us, but yeah.
Right. But listen though.
I know a lot of brothers who only been with one white girl.
So
I only been with, you know what I'm saying?
Me personally, I would say that
One
those numbers work
time.
for me.
That's
right.
yeah.
So that kind of his story, his background. I said background.
Background. That's a good one for him. Background. Yeah.
But his story and his background seems a lot more culturally familiar.
It does.
Right. He grew up with a struggle.
That's right.
Right. He had to depend on other sources to learn how to
maneuver and navigate through.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me.
But
right?
Yeah.
And then he said another thing that, you know, this is a comedian. It's kind of funny. He said a lot of black dudes now where they'll be like, oh, such and such, you ain't white. You white, you don't know about the culture. And he was like, listen, man, I got more black kids than you. And that's kind of funny because he got more black kids than me, too. That man got 5 black kids.
Yeah, I only got 2, too. So you're right. He adding to the culture, man.
Right.
And that's what it is. Like when you grow up, and that's what I mean by blood, sweat, and tears into the culture.
Right.
And invest into the culture. Right. And when you do that, you are of the culture.
Right.
You're just not coming in here looking at a way to get an opportunity.
Right.
You know, using and what we call it. What's the word where you say? You're taking over using the culture. What was that? Culture vulture. Yeah, right. So you're appropriating, right?
Right.
So you're not coming in appropriating just for your bottom line in your pockets.
That's correct.
Right. You are naturally that, and I think the reason why he gets so accepted universally in every hood is because we don't see it as fake.
That's correct.
Right? And then and then for him to be in the culture so much, he don't come at us with the talking phony.
Right.
He still talk like a regular regular white guy.
And that's
right?
what I really respect
and that's
about
what
him.
I respect.
He is a white guy who just loves our culture.
Yeah, who's in
and
black
he doesn't
culture.
try to become like I've never looked at Gary Owens
He
and was
got
like,
no
oh,
face
he's trying to be
tattoos.
black.
He ain't saying, yeah, I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, dog.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's not. He's being authentically
himself.
him who
That's
loves
correct.
the culture.
That's correct.
Right.
And he's not afraid to say it. Right. So to me, that's an ally. Right.
He's a straight ally.
And he put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
That's right. That's right. An ally. And he's been doing that.
Right.
Putting his money. I was just talking about today. It was like, look, we need allies, right?
We
And
do.
allies are the best are always accepted because you can say things in circles that we can't. You
Right.
are inside of circles and convey. Oh, I was talking to a really good mentor of mine. It's like, I have a mentor in this government relations space. I'll go back to it, but to our conversation. But
Yeah.
one of my mentors in this government relations space is a middle-aged Italian white woman, right? Mm-hmm. And she gives me so much game.
Yeah.
And you never know who a mentor who can turn into.
Right.
And she's been there. So Melissa, big ups. Thank you for everything you do. But
Shout out to Melissa.
And I told
What's
her
her-
like
Melissa what?
Melissa Heller, man.
Melissa
She's
Heller.
So she was just discussing to me when she's in some of these white spaces and how she fights for our culture.
Yeah.
Right. And she never pretends to be more than what she is. But she always understands the plight and understanding of black culture. And
Right.
she has been a vehicle for that. So I just wanted to give a big up to that. But going back to Gary with his black kids, right? Mm-hmm. And putting in, matter of fact, he has a wife who had a black kid before him, and then he had kids underneath her.
Yeah.
And I think you had mentioned something earlier, and he was talking about this earlier throughout his time, he going through the divorce, right?
Gary?
Yeah.
So they divorced. It's
Divorced.
done. It's finalized.
And
But yeah, he was talking about that.
yeah, and what kind of, and you touched on it earlier, is how he hasn't been speaking to his kids.
Right. And that's the kind of part there where it got me a little messed up.
Yeah, because it's like, all right, I get it if your kids are minors.
Yeah. Right.
I get it.
Right.
A lot of times dads, we take the bullets, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times dads, our narrative is always the one that's wrong.
Right.
And we could be wrong. But
Right. And to be clear, he was wrong. He cheated.
Yeah.
He admitted it.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
Bull didn't even deny it.
Yeah, he was like, yeah,
Right.
this was some, I could say every man has a vice.
That's correct.
And that was his.
Right.
He said he wasn't out drugging, drinking. That was his
Right.
vice. And he ended up, unfortunately, it just didn't happen. It feels like they was moving past it several times.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said something about like a road manager was giving the information to his wife about
Yeah.
what was going on the road.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really the info. Well, it wasn't.
And the road manager got mad because he smashed the girl so
Bro.
there's always a downfall.
Violation.
Violation, right.
You don't give up. You don't.
Right.
You don't. No. That's foul.
Right.
But what we was talking about, man, is just why is it that the children goes absent? Like
Right.
what's up with that? Like,
And I feel like that's a hurt piece.
I mean, that's what kills you, man.
Now I could say what he said, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and this really stood out to me. He was like, I wish it was a situation where I could say, and the way to transition it. So he got a set of twins that was just recently born, and he was like, I really wish I could say like, oh, all right, I'm gonna do better this time than I did with the last ones. He said, but I don't feel like I messed up with the last ones.
Yeah, you didn't.
He said he was a provider, and even though he was on the road a lot, he said he never missed games, he never missed no birthdays, he never missed no major events. But he said what he didn't do a good job was making sure that their relationship, their individual relationship, was solid enough to where nobody could sway them.
Yeah,
And that was key for me.
yeah, it is, man, because that hit home.
It did with me too.
Because we work, man, and that's like it was something that says a woman don't sacrifice like a father. I mean, a woman doesn't sacrifice like a man does, and a man doesn't sacrifice like a woman does, or the father doesn't sacrifice what a mother does.
Right.
And it's true, and people don't realize our sacrifice is the fact that we are willing to go out and get it to protect and provide.
That's correct.
And the sacrifice that we give up is that one-on-one time, that time together, that one-on-one that, you know, the wife and the kids are out together, or the mother and the kids are out together, and that time at home while you working or traveling and things like that. Yeah. And for me, dog, like I get a little jealous when you sit there and you look on the page and they have a nice little time and doing walks and all that. And it's like, damn.
All that intimate stuff.
And it's like, damn, dog, like I really want to be there.
Right.
But I know that what I'm doing is providing them the ability to have that, right? The fact that we're out getting it has the stress lifted from my daughter and my wife's mind, right? So that they can go ahead and take a trip here, do that,
precisely,
do that there, and I'll take the bullets and be working out on the road. You know
that's
what I mean?
Correct. Mm-hmm. If the male lion was always with the pride, then their perimeter would not be protected.
Facts,
right?
Facts.
They would absolutely be at a higher risk, right? So I feel like that whole statement of fathers don't sacrifice the way mothers do and never will, I feel like it's bullshit. The difference is that our sacrifices have to look different.
It has to be different.
It has to be
because we don't do the same jobs.
Right. That's correct.
And we can't.
And
do
the Most High knew exactly what was in place when He implemented balance, right? That's like that, and that's the key. Right?
Balance is there.
Balance
the balance is so deep.
Right.
That you don't really understand the complexity
That's
of balance,
correct.
right?
That's
you don't
correct.
understand why the yin is to the yang,
right?
And why
and we trying to look at
different.
it from the perspective of one-sided, right?
You know, right?
The circle is complete with the yin and the yang,
for real,
right?
For real.
If you got two yins, it ain't gonna mesh.
Ain't gonna
if you got two yangs, it ain't gonna mesh.
Two batteries that
There's
have
gonna
two
be
positives
overlap.
that reject.
That's
right?
correct.
So
right?
it's so many different neurons and neutrons and everything that's in there that, like I said, the energy where the difference of the opposite or finds this balance.
We got to be balanced.
It has to be balanced. Absolutely.
Right? So I respect that. And I will say that I did notice, and the reason why it hit home with me, and I think that we could kind of adapt a little bit, and I want to say this so that it could tie right into changing the narrative. Right? So Triana and I broke up in 2018. At that time, Andrew was 1, Aria was 5, and Amani was 7.
That's right. You got 3 piece. That's right.
From the time that we broke up till forward, my relationship dynamic with my children has changed tremendously.
Okay.
Right? And I would say that the reason why is because when we was married, living in a household, a lot of my time at home, I mean, admittedly, I was a secondary parent.
Absolutely.
Right? I was going a lot because I was working, especially so in the Marine Corps. I had to work a lot of hours when I was flying and stuff like that when Amani was younger because I was a helicopter gunner. And then when we went to South Carolina and I was just a career planner, I was home a lot more. However, when I was home, I had to do yard work. And
now you taking care of the maintenance
That's
of the
correct.
house, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And you putting those things together, so you're not necessarily doing the intimate pieces.
That's correct. So my intimacy with them was like we would eat dinner together and I would bathe them at the bath time and stuff like that, right? So that was the bulk of my real intimacy that I had, and then everything else was family events. But when we out to family events, I'm a husband first. That's
right.
Right? And then I'm a father.
That time.
So that's where I'm like, all right, I'm a secondary parent. And that was the reality. But then what happened when me and Triana broke up, and because we alternate 50-50, I got them for a week. Now it's like, all right, I got to be protector, provider, and I got to figure out a way to become intimate with my kids.
Intimate and a nourisher and a nurture.
And So, of course, our dynamic changed and it grew. And that's why I hit close to home, because it's like, kind of like it was the blessing in disguise was now, right? Like my children's opinion of me is going to be based on our interactions, right? So I think where there's a benefit is that our personal relationship has gotten stronger.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now, based on that experience, I would say that one of the things we could do as men to change that narrative is stop looking at ourselves like we only protectors and providers. And instead understand that protecting and provision is our primary.
That's it.
Right? But we can also do some nurturing.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, granted, it won't look the same way, right?
It can't. It can't, right? Because it's not naturally into us.
Because
right?
when my baby laying on my head crying, I mean on my shoulder crying, I'm rubbing her face and I'm like, "You all right, baby girl?" But then when them tears dried up, I'm wiping them.
That's good.
And we move into solutions.
That's it. All right. So now, how do we fix this problem? Now, what's next? Let's stop self-soaking. Let's figure out how now we can not let this happen again.
And what's baked in and built into me is that accountability and that structure, right? And I watch it now because I see how Triana interacts with the children versus how I interact with the children. And even with Malaysia and her daughters, I see how she interacts with them and how I interact with them, and it is different. So I'm not saying that we got to change and become moms, right?
We can't.
But what I am saying is that it is okay for us to take a little bit more of an active role than what we do.
Absolutely.
And I think that even not only is it okay, but maybe it's damn necessary looking at Gary Owens' situation.
Yeah, because listen, it'll hurt my heart. Yeah. If I haven't spoken to my kids in 3 years.
Me too, bro.
Right?
Me
I
too.
haven't spoken to my kids in 3 years.
But I'm a little bit more stalkerish than him though, because he said at one point where he was at the graduation and the people was like, "Not right now, not right now." See, that's where Unc's asshole is coming out because that's
tough.
Like,
because do you risk further damaging the relationship with your daughter to solve what you're feeling? Because at the time, and when they say "not right now," I just be for real. That's a shot to our pride. That's a shot to our emotions right there. Like, what you mean now? But
it's also somebody else's analysis and opinion, right? The only person that's gonna tell me right now is my grown ass adult child.
Facts.
I'm not gonna let an intermediary sway on how I interact with my children. Do that. Yeah, no. So that's where I'm at.
I don't care if it's grandma.
I'm a little bit more stalkerish than that.
Yeah. You gonna tell me?
Y'all could have stood in front of me and said not right now, and they'd be like, nah. Because the reality is that been my child all of her life, and you not gonna shut me out of this experience just because me and her mom not together. And so to your question, right? Do you risk further messing it up so that you have a shot? Andrew Nelson? Absolutely. Yeah. I'm gonna take a risk because the most you're gonna do is be mad at me
a little bit longer
because I tried to fight for our relationship.
And you're right. Yeah, I'll dig that too.
Right.
Because this is the high school. I mean, was it college graduation?
I think it was college. Because I feel like he said that the last time that they talked was her freshman year.
And guess what? I'll do the same way. Because I paid for it.
That's correct. That's correct. Like, you're not about to shut me out. So I feel like in that situation, he allowed himself to be secondary in that. And that's why I want to say, like, to a fellow brother and all of the other brothers listening, don't let somebody paint your story for you. Right? And that that's the premise of what we talk about all the time.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah, that's what they
so
do.
The reality is that I would not have been lurking in the shadows. I was gonna be there and she was gonna see me. You're gonna see me. Right?
Dad is
and I'm gonna walk up to you and I'm gonna hug you. Now you can say, "Dad, right now is not the time," and I'm gonna say, "I know, baby girl, I just wanted to show my support," and then I could be out. Right?
Because I did what I was supposed to do.
Because I did what I'm supposed to do. But never am I going to let somebody come and tell me, "Oh, now is not the time." Because that's not your decision to make. Because at the end of the day, this is still my child.
No, you're right.
Right?
You're right. You are absolutely right. And I agree with you on that, man. And yeah. But one thing, though, I started to, when I look at that, and I really get confused because as you get older, you start to understand and see things for what they are. Yeah. Right. And as a parent, even if you're not vibing with the other parent, you never really talk down about the other parent. Right. Definitely in front of the children. Right. But then as the child grows up, the child starts to disseminate and start to put things together
in perspective. Yeah.
Right. And for me, I know my parents were together for a while. My parents was married for, I think, 28 years before they got divorced. And they got divorced. And, of course, I was like 18, 19 when they were divorced. And I had mixed feelings about it, but I didn't quite side to anyone. You know what I'm saying? Because my father was instrumental in my life, and my mother was instrumental in my life. So I wasn't making a decision. Plus, I was 18 years old. So it was like, I'm grown now. You know what I'm saying? So
y'all still both my parents.
Y'all still both my parents. And I really didn't understand what was causing the divide between my parents until maybe I was like 25, 26, and I started to understand my father a lot. You know what I'm saying? And because you hear your mom, and because of most children, you automatically going to protect and go with your mom. Right? And then as a son, you're going to protect your mother because that's what sons do. Right. But then as I start to age, I started to understand some of the ways of being a man and how sometimes those ways that's just instilled and ingrained in us causes conflict in relationships. Yeah, definitely. And a lot of times if the growth is not there or the understanding of who we are, because I'm learning a lot of times with men, we always kind of apologize for who we are.
Yeah.
And every time that we tell you, well, this is how I am, it's never really accepted. It's like, well, I think that's an excuse. What? How can I give you an excuse if I'm telling you, nature? Well, this is naturally who I am.
Right.
So what if I said to her or you, the woman, well, I think the reason you can't lift this 200-pound table is an excuse. You can go in the gym. Right. That's like going against their natural who they are, right? So a lot of times that's always kind of the narrative that we're faced with is like, well, that's an excuse. No, you just don't want to accept it, right? And now that I'm grown, like I said, I understand my father. I understand what happened, and I understand, how things could go awry. And I'm wondering how long it's going to take for those children to do so. And then when they do come around, how do you handle the apology as a father?
Well, I mean, I could tell you. So I had to have that conversation with my oldest.
Okay.
My two youngest, I don't really think that they remember as much, right? Especially not Andrew, because Andrew was
he
one,
has no clue,
right? Aria, somewhat, but I had to have that hard conversation with my daughter, and to be 100% clear, she didn't hold no punches. Like she was very clear with me, right? So how did I handle it? With transparency, first of all, right? I was full accountable, right? And I owned everything. Right, even some of the stuff that wasn't necessarily on me. Yeah, right.
We always got to take the L's. It's not ours.
Right, and I did that because I understood from now being an adult where I had to have this conversation with my mother about accountability. I understood that the last thing that child wanted to hear in that situation was me to pass the buck or pass the blame.
No, you're right.
So I owned it. I fully apologized, and I was vulnerable. Right, and in my vulnerability, I didn't make excuses, but I still gave an explanation because she wanted to know why, right? So I was vulnerable with the why. I was clear with the explanation. And most importantly, I was accountable, right? And then I asked for forgiveness. And then what I said after that was, I was like, what can I do to help work towards us having a better situation, right? And then I do it, right? So one of the things that she said to me that stood out was she kind of felt like when her mom and I broke up, when we was going through our own emotional stuff, like she kind of had to fend for herself. Not literally.
No, right? But you
but
have
emotionally,
to
hell yeah, she's right. Because I know for sure that, bro, I was smoking a pack of Black & Milds like every couple of days. I was throwing myself into my work to distract myself. You remember 2018, 2019, that's when I was running for county council.
That's right.
So I was going.
That's right.
And I was busy, and I was definitely emotionally detached. So I can fully understand how she felt that way. Yeah, it was the hardest time of my life. I was having a culture shock.
Everything was just everything was happening at the same time.
And my PTSD was lining up where that was coming to a head because it was untreated. Because I had only just accepted maybe a year and change before that I actually had PTSD because I was in denial. Right? Because I'm like, man, when I'm not jumping under the table every time explosions happen, I don't got PTSD. No, I hear you. Right? But that's the fallacy, of misunderstanding. Right? So everything kind of came to a head, and I just had to own it. And the key was where she said that she felt like she had to fend for herself. So I knew that the solution was to show her, like, listen, baby girl, you're not alone in this world at all, and you can come to me.
Because a lot of times they feel alone.
They did.
They feel like nobody understands, and y'all going through what y'all going through, and I don't want to be a burden to either parent.
Yeah, right. And that was the other thing she said, that she didn't want to be a burden, and she didn't want to feel like she was choosing sides. And I was like, baby, you don't got to choose sides.
Yeah,
that's just because your mom and I broke up don't mean that you got to choose. Like you still both of our child, and we still both invested on making sure that you winning.
Facts.
And I think that helps because we are on the same page with that.
No, you're right. Yeah, that's what's up, man.
So Gary, man, go get your kids back, man.
Fight for them, man. Keep fighting. And I know it's hard because a lot of times when we get rejected like that, because it's with our kids, and I don't think people understand that. Like with our kids, and when they reject us as a parent, or let's just say as a father, it really hits us home. It hurts us more than anything.
It does, because
this person is someone of our loins, right? We understand where they come from, the upbringing, everything. Like, you are pure to us, and then once that gets rejected, when we did everything in our power to make sure that person was, okay, and then you say no, it really hurts.
That door slammed in your face.
Man, that hurts us, dads, really, really bad,
right?
And it really to a point where some of us don't know how to respond because our kids are the last person that we allow to be vulnerable with.
Yeah.
We're vulnerable with our children. Our emotions are very, very open because we know that that's our kids. They can't use this information to hurt us, or they can't necessarily hurt us.
Right.
So when they actually hit us, it's like, damn. So some men don't know how to respond. And some men will be like, all right, I'm just going to leave you there because that's how we normally are. And anytime we get emotionally damaged, we don't allow anyone back into that space again.
Yeah, and that's not healthy.
And it's not.
Not with your kids.
Not with your children. Not with your children.
I get we got to be like that out in these streets.
Yeah.
I fully understand that because fool me once, shame on me.
Yeah.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah.
So out in these streets, I understand that. But you got to kind of have like unlimited.
You got to have that thick skin.
Yeah, man. Because
this
can be your child forever. Your adult child is still your child.
So, and I hear people be like, well, sometimes you got to say F the kid when they get grown. And
maybe
like,
in the moment, but not in the long run.
Not in the long run.
Yeah, only in the moment. So I shared something on Facebook the other day that like it's okay to take a break. As a matter of fact, that's a sign of maturity to take a step back and say, yeah, I'm overwhelmed right now. I can't do this, right? But that break got to be temporary with the understanding that you're gonna calm down and then you're gonna show back up to work, right?
Yep.
But if you taking a break with the hopes that it's just gonna go away and that other person's gonna forget about it,
yes, that's not gonna happen.
That's immaturity.
That's immaturity,
right? Like
that's immaturity.
And so you same deal. You can't really do that. Nah. What's up, brother? Jamar,
what up, bro?
What's happening? So
congratulations too, right?
Yes,
they had another one.
They had another baby. Congratulations, absolutely.
That's dope.
And she a beautiful baby girl too. Yep.
Yeah, that's dope. We got a 2-piece now, huh?
Yep.
Boy and a girl.
Yes, indeed.
Stop now. You're done.
That's hilarious.
Oh man. That's
so yeah. But and the reason why you got to go back because there's too many kids in here or too many children in this world and too many adults that grew up without their fathers. And when your father ain't around and you don't feel like you got that ability to call your father, you kind of like left out here a little bit alone and unprotected. And the world is already working overtime to try to remove male influences from.
You right, man. You talking that talk. Cause,
you know what I mean?
Because May 9th made 16 years from my father passing, bro.
Yeah.
And when you out here trying to be a man, right, and demonstrating things for your family and trying to maneuver through the mayonnaise and trying to be professional and trying to grind and get and build legacies, you want to be able to call on somebody.
Absolutely.
Right?
You need that structure, that brick house in the corner that you know is going to be there.
Who knows your ins, your outs, your weaknesses, and how you. And for us, he knows where he knows the bitch in you, right?
Right.
Because we all had a little bitch in us, and we grew with a little bitch in us, and he see it. And for fathers, our job is to remove the bitch in your son.
That's correct.
I'm just going to be real with it is. So when the dad be like, so the mom, no, don't do that. Or talk to his son and be like,
leave that boy alone.
Get up, boy. Don't do that. Yeah. We are eradicating some of the things that can make him too sensitive.
That's correct.
Which will hinder his progression.
Right.
That's just what it is. And when you be able to call your pops be like, yeah, because I know he recognized when you resorting back to the things that he had to parent out of you.
That's correct.
And you don't necessarily get that with other folks.
Right.
So you're right, man. It's a great thing to have that and be able to pick up that phone and to those kids, hold on to that, man. Don't hold on to that grudge long because you never know how long you got with your parent.
That's a fact, man.
You know what I'm saying? Because that there, you turn around, you mad for a reason that you don't even be mad about.
Right.
You mad at your dad, but you for what he did to your mom. But at the end of the day, it ain't got nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with you.
Right?
That's
their relationship.
Right.
Right. Your father has always been there. So you got to kind of like treat that as what it is. Your relationship with your parent is the way you treat your parent.
That's a fact. And I wish I understood this. So now at 38, almost 38, I'm having this conversation with you and it's meaningful, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason why it's meaningful, so I don't know if we ever talked about this on the show, but my biological father died when I was in Afghanistan. Did we talk about that on the show? Mm-hmm. He died when I was in Afghanistan, but so 2011, and I met him in 2008. Mm-hmm. So for 3 years, I had an opportunity where I could have reached out and built a relationship with my dad and got a lot of them questions answered and got a lot of that stuff off my chest that I wanted, but I didn't because I let my anger drive me, right? Mm-hmm. And like now when I look back and I analyze it differently, because when I first met him, I was mad, right?
Yeah.
And this man at this point when I met him, he was like 70. Wow. I was like, this was months before I left to go to Iraq. I was a corporal in the Marine Corps, like full of testosterone and damn insane, right? So then now I meet this man and he see me all huffed up and everything, and he responded by leaving the situation. And that pissed me off because it made me feel abandoned again. But how much of a role did I play in that, right? Because what is this 70-year-old man gonna do if I had a snapped?
Nothing.
Right? And he don't know me. And he didn't know what my intentions was. So really all I wanted was a hug and be like, I missed you, son, or something like that.
He didn't know how
but
to
he didn't know
approach
how
it.
to respond because he see me all mad standing there. He like, man, let me get out of here before this young boy jump on me. Right? And now I respect it because it's like, you know, I was tripping. I was tripping. Rightfully so. I was mad.
Of
right?
course,
I
you had every right to be.
lifetime worth of anger.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But in all actuality, I was tripping. But anyway, I said all of this to say that I let my anger drive me. Right? And in the end, the only person that really lost was me. Right? Because now in 2011, when I got the news that my father had passed away, at the same time, I had made it up in my mind that regardless of how he felt, I was going to have this conversation with him. But then it ended up being too late. So then now I had to go through hours, hundreds of hours of therapy and however many years. And it wasn't until 2022, 2023 that I came to terms with it. And I started seeing the humanity in my father instead of looking at it from the lens of my anger and what I was missing.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done and the smoke clear, I could have used that 3 years.
For real.
Because he is I and I am him. I look like this man. I move like this man. I think like this man. And he ain't never play a role in raising me.
And he can impart it so much.
He could have gave me so much wisdom.
He can impart it so much into your life.
But I let my pride do it. So fathers, don't let your pride drive you from missing out on the opportunity with your children. But children, don't let your pride drive you from missing out on the opportunity with your parents.
Yeah, so that's even to the folks that's listening, man. And you guys are, if you listening and you have a strained relationship, bro.
Yeah.
Go out and make that conversation. Right, we grown
because every day we got one less day of an opportunity.
Facts, facts. And
we don't know when the end is,
and you can't pick your parent, and that's unfortunate. For some folks, but you got to deal with the best that you get, man. And if you have a parent that's actually worth their salt and doing, trying to mend some things, and you see that they're trying to mend it, but you holding on to that grudge, it's time to dead it, man, because it costs you more. And it sounds so cliche, but it costs you more energy to remain mad.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
So this person comes in, now you got to get up and leave. Right? Yeah. That's more energy.
Right.
That person you talk about this person, now your blood pressure works up.
Absolutely.
Like, nah, I just want to be able to handle you regularly and let's have a conversation. Let's have a good experience and just deal with one another, right?
And also don't expect it to be a light switch. Yeah. Right? Like you're not going to have one conversation and then boom, stuff is right. Now you got to feel through your feels.
Yeah, it's not going to, you're right.
Right?
You're right.
It took you a lifetime worth to build up this anger. Don't expect it to just dissipate in after one conversation.
No, you right.
So you got to be ready to be strapped in for the ride and put the work in because y'all both got to feel through y'all feels.
No, you're absolutely right, man. And that's what and being vulnerable is key. And
right.
And speaking of being vulnerable and creating these intimate, let's say spaces and experiences. What you think about that teacher, man? You got locks, man. What you think about that teacher, man?
So I think, like I got to start stuff with a disclaimer.
Yeah. I
think that the fact that this teacher is a strong male role model in these children's lives was tremendous. I also think that he would not be the first teacher that did a student's hair or allowed a student to play in their hair because the reality is at Chester High, students used to play in the teachers' hair. That was the comfortable teachers like that. So this is not the first that I've heard of this, but I will say that unfortunately, the America that we live in does not allow for black men to behave in such a manner that is consistent with the status quo.
Why is that though, man? Why is it that when I got my daughter, and she got to go to the bathroom, and I'm out with her, that I can't take her into the men's bathroom, and I can't go into the women's bathroom,
right?
but I gotta ask a woman to take my daughters to the women's bathroom.
Right.
But if I do take her to the men's bathroom, then I gotta be relegated or subjected to some type of fighting against a perspective of what are you doing with his girl in his bathroom?
Right.
Why is that, man? Like I agree with you, bro. Like the teacher is creating something for some of those students that they would never have. And all of a sudden, soon as this happens, some people get triggered.
Right.
Some people get upset,
right,
or relive and rehash some of the things that happened in their lives and be like, well, that's not right. ... And I'm like, is there ever a chance that we are able to express any type of, one, protection, two,
right,
provision, three, emotional safety to the very people that say we don't do it?
Right.
Soon as we give it, like soon as we are providing that to these folks,
it gets attacked.
Non-sexual,
right?
With good intentions, with
right,
no maliciousness,
or whatever.
No maliciousness to it. Now all of a sudden, this brother is attacked,
right?
And then they wonder why we don't do certain things.
I think it's a crappy situation, man.
It is
all across the board because I don't. And then I've even heard that they suspended his teaching license now.
Wow!
Like so now you can't earn.
Wow!
Now his life is over. And what let's put into context what he did. What did he actually do? He allowed his students in downtime to plan his hair, which was probably by their request.
That's right.
Right. Now, can I understand and see how somebody would see that as inappropriate?
I can see that.
I can. But can it be a right? Why, couldn't he have gotten written up? Couldn't it have been a verbal reprimand? Did he have to get fired?
Yeah, because
did he have to lose his teacher's license?
None of that.
And my thing is, why are we not calling this out as a community? Right? Because that's why I kind of feel like it's flying because ain't nobody speaking up against it.
I'm gonna have to play a defense attorney.
Okay.
I don't think that it's the community, bro. I think it's if you got a pair of testicles and a penis, that you can never express yourself accordingly.
You're not wrong, man. You're not wrong because so me being a professor, when I was at Harcum, I fully understand the plight of being a black male teacher interacting with women students, right? Or girl students. So I fully understand that. Like whenever my students would stay behind, if they wanted to ask a question or something like that, that door was staying open, right? And we was keeping our distance, right? I didn't allow a space for me to build an intimate relationship with my students, right? But I want to say, to be clear, the reason why I didn't allow a space is because I never felt like that would be safe for my career, right?
See, but why?
But why? Because in order for me to educate you, you should feel comfortable. And not all intimacy is sexual.
It's not.
Right?
It's not. Intimacy does not equal sex.
It doesn't. And I also feel like it's very important for students to have some kind of intimate relationship with their educator,
with anybody,
because you got to be vulnerable in order to learn from somebody. So I do see both sides of the argument, but in no way, shape, or form do I think that this should have turned out the way it turned out.
For this brother,
and to be clear, I think the only reason it turned out the way it turned out was because he was a black male.
And I think in order to, we got to start protecting ourselves.
We do got to start protecting ourselves.
And we got to start standing up and not allowing this to be the narrative against us.
Yeah.
Because if this is our genuine intention, if he's doing things that's for the positivity of what for the kids, and he's doing things that's there, we can't allow him to keep getting hung. We can't keep allowing our men to continuously get publicly castrated, bro.
Yeah,
right?
and in fact, that because it's definitely an economic castration.
Because
that's a clear message that says that I want you to suffer for the rest of your life because you allowed for an intimate space.
Yeah, and we sit here and as men, we speak up on it, or we have our private conversations and be like, yo, it's not right, it's not right, because we are so conditioned not to be verbal or push against the culture of society, not the culture, the society norms or the loudest voices out here for society. And I feel like you got to protect your sons.
Yep.
You got to protect your brothers. You got to protect the father of your kids. You got to protect your husbands. And we have to start looking at this as a narrative of, if these are good men, we got to start protecting them.
Right.
Because to the people that want to continuously have these triggers on things that doesn't involve the good men.
Right.
Right. And I always tell people this: imagine that being your son. Would you want that to be your son?
Not
Can
at all.
you imagine your son calling you up, Mom, this is what happened?
Right.
Like, do you even look at it that way, or are you just a knee-jerk reaction and saying because of what happened to you and to the unfortunate situations or whatever scumbag did that, now everyone is like that?
And that brother was probably heartbroken, man.
Man, I can imagine.
So not even just your parents. Like as a parent, I wouldn't want my son or daughter to have to experience nothing like that.
Yo.
But then also just as a human.
Yes.
As a human,
Yeah.
why does this individual who clearly there was nothing malicious in this video whatsoever, right?
Nah.
I don't know if y'all watched the video or not. But again, the only reason I can understand is because I know the world we live in.
Yeah.
Not that I think it was necessary.
Not at all.
Right? That it was a problem. Because I don't agree that it was a problem. Right? Because the best thing I could do is put myself in their shoes, right? If my daughter had a male teacher and my daughter was one of them girls that was standing behind him taking his hair out, how would Andrew Nelson feel? Would I get mad about that?
I got two daughters. You got two daughters. We got two daughters.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I
do we feel?
I don't know that would piss me off.
I wouldn't.
What I might say is, why y'all spending classroom time doing hair? I might say something like that.
I would definitely ask more questions.
Right.
And I would definitely start to meet. Well, I should already know who the teacher is.
Right.
But I would start prodding more. I would start poking and prodding to get more out of that teacher.
But that's only because I just want to be able to rule out that it's anything bad going on.
I want to make sure that I'm
But
cool.
I'm not going to jump to the conclusion and automatically and be like, oh, that ninja need to be fired.
I'm not
like,
writing
that's
a letter to the
wild.
superintendent. I'm not writing a letter to the principal.
To me, that's wild. Because why is he being attacked like that?
No, you're right.
Because now you telling me basically that he guilty until proven innocent.
Anytime you're a man, you're guilty until proven innocent,
Yeah.
bro. That's just what it is.
Speaking of that, right? So speaking of being guilty until proven innocent.
They got some food going on. I smell some food, man. So.
Oh, I do smell. It do smell good, don't it? That's what that is? Could we get a hoagie?
Some food going on.
Yeah, as soon as y'all show over.
Word. Sounds great to me. So I forget where it was at, but so there was an airman, right? A U.S. airman.
Man, where was this?
That was
Florida.
gunned down in
It was in
Florida,
Florida.
by a sheriff, right? And now, so I gotta say, you know, every time I gotta disclaim. My disclaimer is, I think it was a misstep to open the door.
I agree.
With a sheriff in Florida with the blicky on your side.
Did he know it was a sheriff at the door?
So I don't know that he knew, but I do know that from the body cam footage, Bull said it was the sheriff's office at least once. I think it was twice. And we all, come on, can we all agree that authoritative knocks sound a little different than your homie?
Your homie is,
that sounded like the police knock.
police is
Right.
yeah.
So why were they
It's a
coming
difference.
to his house?
Oh, so I think that it was really a mistake.
It was.
I
It
think
was a
that
mistaken
from what I
address.
understand is that there was a domestic abuse called in. It
was a mistaken
and that
address.
the sheriff just went to the wrong house.
Wrong house.
Right.
Wrong house.
I gotta have empathy for on both sides, man. Because as a sheriff, if you got a second to think, right? And I'm not a sheriff. I've never been a sheriff, but what I have been is a Marine, right? And I have been on the other side of the gun as the authority, if you will, right? And I do know for a fact that you got split seconds to make a decision.
Absolutely.
And it's life or death. And if I open the door and I see a gun, right?
With the oo-wop in his hand.
I don't know that my brain is going to be able to say, whoa, slow down and ask questions before my finger starts saying, whoa, protect, because I got to go home, right? So in this case, did it seem like he was guilty until proven innocent? Yes, but there's a humanity side to this.
So did he have his gun drawn, pointed to them?
No, he didn't.
He had it out, and
but
it
he
was
had
to
it
the
out
side.
invisible.
It was to the side.
It was
So
out, but it was
again, Liz,
visible.
I gotta say this: you don't split second life or death decisions, right?
They have tasers though.
But the sheriff had his gun drawn and he was at the ready because he didn't know what was behind that door. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
That's still like, why do we make excuses for things like that?
Because
I've been
in military and I've kicked the door in, so I know the way I'm trained. I'm trained to be prepared to look for any threat, and you got a second to respond.
But they look for threat in us, not them.
He didn't know that man was black.
But when he opened the door and
He
was
saw
black,
a gun.
No.
Yes.
So
yes,
how many
Liz,
times-
he saw
how
a
many
gun.
times are we gonna excuse that though? So like,
That's not an excuse.
we look at all these videos of these white people that come to the door.
If the
with
cop was black,
guns
would it have
or
been better?
shoot- Huh?
If the cop was black, would it
The
have been
cop-
better?
if it was
but-
a black cop, he
but
probably wouldn't have shot.
She do
he
got
would
a
have told
point.
him to put his hand.
When
he
a
would've
white
put-
person has a rifle or a gun in their hand, and somehow they're not deemed as a threat.
a threat.
But soon as we have it in
Okay,
our
yeah, I
hands,
agree with that. Then we're
I'd
the
give you
threat.
that.
Oh, so I totally agree with that. And then also it's worth saying that that boy had his hand up, right? And that was as clear as day.
Exactly.
I saw it in a split second, but I also watched the video from the comfort of my own home with no adrenaline and no threat of my life being in any kind of danger.
and not
But why
responding
is it-
to a call.
But why is it still always a threat for us? And then it was a mistake anyway. So they went
I'm
to
not-
the wrong door.
I'm not arguing
always
that
seen
the
it as a
black
threat.
man was a threat.
always-
I'm arguing that the gun appeared as a threat with a split second decision to be made while my hand was already ready. And I don't know what's on the other side of the door when I open that
then
door.
you're-
But
then
it's an
you're
implicit
automatically
bias.
coming to the door like I'm gonna shoot
That's a
everything
fact.
in this
But
house.
That's a fact.
there's an
and
implicit
unfortunately,
bias.
that is his training, right? Unfortunately, it's not that crazy because he got called to a domestic violence call, right? So he's already predisposed in
he
his
already
mind. I'm going to a potentially dangerous situation.
already hyped.
Never mind color in this, right? Because domestic violence ain't got nothing to do with race, right?
But the response
the response.
to a black man with a gun
Is
is
different.
implicit with a lot of folks.
It is.
and I
really
think
is.
we really got to start acknowledging. I think America doesn't really, like I said, they never apologized for this first sin.
They sure did.
And because of that, we continuously keep getting hit with this, and people saying we don't see color, we don't see race. That we do. It's there.
Or
We
how about
see
this?
it.
I'm gonna ask this question: what if not seeing color and not seeing race is why this stuff allows to continuously be perpetuated? Because in the '60s, they understood that taking a passive approach like the way we take today is just as harmful.
Yeah.
Right. That's why there was stuff implemented like affirmative action.
Yeah, that's why.
Right?
You're right.
Because the system as is has so much bias baked into it to where it is inevitably unfair.
No, you're right.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
So I think that saying I don't see race is a cop out.
I
right?
always push that back and say you need to see.
You need to see race.
because if you don't see my skin color, then
Right.
you don't see me.
Right. That's correct. And also you not taking the space to empathize for my plight.
Exactly.
Right?
So now you
because
don't
you're not
know
looking at it as cause and effect.
how
You're looking
to
at it like, oh,
respond.
everybody's equal.
Exactly.
And everybody is not equal.
Exactly.
Because equality or equity, right, both have the same base word, right? But they all come from outcomes.
That's right.
Not opinions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We establish equity or equality based on outcomes.
That's right. That's right.
Not opinions.
right. That's right.
Right.
That's
So
right.
even though the general consensus is today that life is fair,
Mm-hmm.
do you know that there's documented data that people thought that life was fair during the time of Bull Connor when they ain't that his name, Bull Connor, when they was hosing people down
Oh, yeah.
on TV for the civil rights movement?
Until they
the
saw
average
it.
American then
until
felt
they
that
seen it.
until they saw it. Right. So your opinion on how you feel that the world is portrayed has nothing to do with verifiable outcomes.
Well.
So to be clear, I do understand that the verifiable outcome is that a black person with a gun is inevitably more dangerous by outcomes than a white person with a gun.
But you know what's crazy about that? We just started off with our conversation saying that we are a loving, warm, and open, friendly folk. But
We are.
the minute there's come to violence,
Right.
we're always treated to the extreme opposite of that. If we're always known as a welcoming culture,
Right.
we're open, we're warm. But the minute that there's comes a fear of there's a come a moment of fear, now all of that goes out the window. Look at the narrative that they painted us in. How can we be such a welcoming people on one hand when it's time for our culture, but then when it's time for some, maybe the law, we're violent, vicious, and shoot first type of it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. But I think really what it comes down to the core beliefs of the average citizen.
And the core beliefs is the narrative that was painted through years and generational racism.
Isn't that evident when we got the Mississippi governor? The same governor that shot down diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, but tarried for a Confederate. And to be clear, right, let's clear up and talk real quick about Confederate. What is Confederate? Confederate is the people who were anti-union, which means that they were the insurgency. They were the people who lost the war, the Civil War, right?
Because they wanted to make sure that slaves remain slaves.
That's correct. Well, ultimately, that's what it comes down to. But what they will claim in history is that they were fighting for states' rights, right?
Yeah.
Instead of United States, right? But so now today, the Confederacy is referred to more so as an indication of Southern culture. But I said all of this to say, I said this build up to say that culture is what creates opinions. Culture is what...
Culture creates stereotypes?
Stereotypes, expression, the way that we express all of the beliefs that we have as far as society is driven by culture, right? And I think because the cultural divide has never been bridged, right? Meek Mill says, reporting live from the other side of America. I think that the Civil War, although won by the Union, I don't believe that the divide ever was bridged, right?
No,
and in reality, that's what we're dealing with today. We're dealing with the perpetual, or here we go. We're dealing with the compound interest, right, of that problem that was never really clearly addressed.
And we're going to continue to have it.
Yeah.
Like, you got to right the wrong in order to move forward. And we continuously keep trying to punt this.
As a matter of fact, we're not just punting it anymore. We're undoing the guidelines that actually made it somewhat fair.
Yo, we forgave every, we did a reconciliation of every pun, every thing that happens in the history, but not that.
Right.
And we keep seeing it over and over and over again.
We sure do.
Like it's like, all right, it feels like these types of issues to other cultures and races only happens, what it seems like. I'm not saying that it does. It only seems like it happens once every decade or something, where you get a spell of something crazy.
Right.
But what's been consistent is the the racism and the treatment of Black Americans in this country. Right. And it always seems like it's a constant. It hasn't changed since the beginning of time. Yeah. It really hasn't. Like each decade is a new issue. It's not nothing that changes but the time period in the mode of the racism.
That's a fact. Faces at the bottom of the well.
Right. So, before it's this way, but now they use the internet to do it. Now they're going to use AI to do it. Now they're going next do this way. Like, so is until we have a real, coming to Jesus moment in like a better terms, we're going to continuously be faced with this. You know, and it's a sad situation, but reparations is needed.
It is.
That's all I'm saying.
And I want to be clear that I don't think that reparations is just a dollar value. No. Because as a matter of fact, I think that paying out a dollar value as reparations will do nothing more but inflate the economy and leave us in no better of a situation than we were before.
It'll help the economy out more than it'll help out the community. But guess what?
I don't know that it will. I think that all it's going to do is help corporations. It'll help corporations.
It'll help them out more. So it'll help out the people who going against it more than it'll help out the people that it needs.
But the overarching economy is not going to be helped because they'll have to print more money to do it. Yeah. I think what will really help the economy is if we take the base word of reparations, repair, right? And then you got to ask yourself, what is it that needs to be repaired? Well, I think that the definition of repair is to fix what was harmed. So what did we lose? We lost generations of economic value. That's right. Right? What is the number one way to drive economic value in any place? Put you in a position to produce, right? So I think that reparations should look more like those land grants that we've seen given for hundreds of years to European peasants when they first came over from Europe, and
40 acres and a mule. That's what you're saying?
So I'm
That's
saying
what we
that
were supposed
40
to
acres
get.
and a mule.
Okay.
But then in addition, what else did we see? We saw a psychological. We have seen psychological impacts and effects of that compounded interest, right? And we know that trauma keeps you in a cycle of small thinking, small feeling, small being.
Yes.
So in addition to something putting us in a position, because I don't agree that the solution to reparations is cutting a check. I don't.
No.
Right. But build us economically, right? Give me an opportunity, because I'm big in let me do it my damn self.
But
right?
that's where I'm saying. But even though you're saying that it's not cut me the check, for the grander scale of it, it is, right? So cut us the check. We have enough leadership. We have enough smart people to go ahead and build what we need to get built. Let us build the infrastructure.
Man, money has no intrinsic value. The U.S. dollar has no intrinsic
It doesn't.
value.
But we don't need the government to build it. We always need.
No, I agree with that.
You see what I'm saying?
We
you
just
give
need
it
the
to
government's land.
You
Give me
give
the
it to the
land.
tribe of us.
Right. There you go.
And then we'll figure it out and
That's
build it from
correct.
the inside.
That's correct. I agree with
But
that.
it comes
Okay,
from
so we're on the same page.
the opening of you just like all right,
But it
cut a
needs to
check
be
and we got it.
undergirded with therapy, like
Yo, yeah.
extensive psychotherapy. I'm talking about EMDR and talk therapy, right? Because we need reprocessing, right? We need to be able to feel through our feels in a structured manner, right? That's evidence based to ensure that the trauma that we've all experienced is mitigated,
talking.
right?
You talking.
And then also talk therapy, right?
talking.
Because our thought process got to change, right?
Big time. Big time.
And our thought process was we were whole people brought to a new world, into a new land, subjugated, divided, and broken, right? And then we got freedom, and they was like, now you're free.
Good luck.
Good luck in this capitalistic nation.
Good luck.
And I know we
With
just
no
stole
tools.
a couple hundreds of years.
No education.
Worth of, right. But then what did we do in Reconstruction? We made the best of it,
made it
and we
happen.
came out tremendously.
We made
and
it
then,
happen.
and then in the turn of the 19th century, with the rise of the KKK, it was
We made it
destroyed
happen.
again, and then we was vilified again,
Yep.
and broken down again.
Yep.
And then in the 70s, they'll
Yep.
killed our leaders. So we've been traumatized generation upon generation upon generation with the strong arm of the government, right? So the government needs to repair that through psychotherapy and through economic development,
No, you're
not
right.
just cutting a check.
No,
So I think reparations needs to occur, but I just want to
But all I'm saying
clearly
is,
define
all
what it
I'm
needs to
saying
look
is,
like.
I just need the government to open up the resources,
Yes.
and then let us as leaders, let the people,
Let
as
us
leaders,
lead.
let us continuously have let's be insulated and
Yeah.
build it out.
That's correct.
We don't need anything else. We got enough. We got enough therapists. We
I
got
agree with
enough
that.
hospitals. We
I
got
agree with that.
we got that together. So as we did with every other time that where they said, like they say, Juneteenth is coming up, and the last people in Texas finally found out because some people on the horses came and told them, finally, yeah, you free, right? And from that day, we continuously built these communities on our own with the skill sets that we had,
Yeah.
and continues to flourish.
Yeah.
All right, now we can continuously do that.
Yeah.
On our own,
Right.
I
I
agree
agree
with
with that.
nothing else, but we
I
just
agree
need
with
the official apology.
Yep.
Right. And the resources for where we can continuously rebuild. Like I
Yep.
said, we got to repair. We got to
Right.
repair our financial institutions. We got to repair our economy. We got to repair our frame of thoughts. We got to repair the nuclear black home. Right. We got to repair who we are as a culture, and that comes with it. And let us do that on our own.
I agree. I agree 100%.
I'm with you.
And that'll be the solution, right? But so reparations need to be with the goal of repairing.
I like
Right.
it though. Repair.
Right.
We got to repair.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we can only repair by undoing what was done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It gotta be
Yeah.
an undo. It can't just be like, oh, let me throw money at it.
Nah.
Because history has showed us that throwing money at no problem fixes it.
Nah.
Because if that was the case, then America would have the best education system ever, because there's mad money that gets thrown at it. But how it's spent and how it's played out.
But I think the problem is that America threw money at everybody else.
Right.
They threw it at every other issue.
Right.
But they never threw the money back at us.
Right. But in addition to that, in addition to them not throwing money, they threw roadblocks. Right?
Shoot.
Tremendous amounts of roadblocks.
For real.
And then they flat out stole.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's the Freedmen's Bureau, right? That was a Ponzi scheme. They collected money into a bank and then literally just closed the doors of the bank. It was like, your money is gone.
That's
right?
crazy.
They burnt down communities of houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Burned it down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the money that and the people that was there, the generations of kids that survived, they didn't have no claim to go and say, "Oh, this was my father's house."
Man,
right?
You right.
So it was stolen. It was extracted. Right? And there was no support. So
At all.
So that's what I mean when I say repair. Like we got to acknowledge that. Like
that.
it's
We gotta
real.
acknowledge it. You absolutely right about that, man. Yeah, absolutely right. And we have to keep building towards it, man.
Definitely.
You know, so Uncle Joe, you heard what we said. You know, we gonna need you to cut that check so we can figure it out. Go over.
Right.
You know, but what was our last topic?
I know. I was trying to think.
I was trying to think what our last topic was. Yeah, what was our last topic of discussion?
It was supposed to be. Was it about money?
It was about money. I don't know.
Yeah, we talked about
Talked about Gary Owens. Talked about Drake. Drake. We talked about Mississippi. We talked about Gary Owens, sheriff, teacher.
It had to do with money.
Yeah, no, we hit it all.
No, it was one more that we
Gary Owens,
we missed.
teacher. Yeah, we picking out Braid, sheriff. Yeah, Drake versus Kendrick.
Hold on.
We didn't say nothing about money. Yeah.
Hold on.
It's not like us. It's not good.
Oh yeah, it was. It was the home prices, right?
Oh, the BlackRock and home and buying out all the homes.
So we got
yeah.
Just I mean, we might as well hit that real quick because we done beat everything else down into the ground. Or do you want to save it for next week?
You know what? Yeah, let's save it for the next. Let's dive deep into that one next week.
Yeah, because I don't want it to just be a quick wave top.
Because that's deep, man. Because the housing market and how they're maneuvering around it is something we got to really talk about because the rent prices ain't gonna change.
It ain't gonna change, right? So we want to be strategic about that. So yeah, the next show we gonna talk a little bit more.
$2 grand
into that.
2,500,
right?
$3 grand. Like, are you out of your mind?
While wages remain stagnant over the last 30 years.
Yep. Yeah.
All jokes aside, right? I know people that be like, man, listen, I'm trying to grab this job. They paying $20 an hour. It's 2024. Do we remember reading and learning about factory workers that was making $17 an hour in the 60s and the 70s?
Yep. And that was great money back then.
Right. So as inflation has progressed tremendously, the expectation of hourly wages in 70 years has only gone up by a few dollars.
Yeah.
Yep.
But during that same time, the average rent was like $400, and now we talking about the average rent is like $1,600.
And the average car note is $800.
That's insane.
So you think about it like this: $17 an hour back then is $30 an hour now.
I mean,
or 50.
Yeah, I'll say like 50.
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
Right. It's outrageous.
Because I was looking so I've been looking for a place, and literally 2-bedroom apartments, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, $1,700.
Yeah.
$1,800.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
It is.
That's a lot of money.
So yeah, we definitely need to dive into that.
Yeah.
So that means next conversation we're gonna have a economic conversation.
Absolutely. So man, we're gonna wrap this one up.
We're gonna wrap this up, man.
So we're gonna go ahead and say Happy Mother's Day
to all of the mothers. Happy Mother's Day to the mothers that we got in the room with us.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day to the woman on our pod. Happy Mother's Day to the ladies in the room. Happy Mother's Day, Stacy. Happy Mother's Day, Felicia. I know you got women are mothers. And have a wonderful Mother's Day tomorrow.
What did Pac say? There's no way we could pay you back, but the plan is to show you that we understand. You are appreciated.
And we can't even get no more restaurant reservations tomorrow, man.
I know, right?
Crazy.
It's crazy. But I'm going to still feed my mama one way or another.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, man. My name is Malcolm Yates.
My name is Andrew Nelson.
Hey, yo, we are The Narrative.
This is my heritage, all I'm inheriting. Money and power, the